wanna know, get into the flow, hop onto the podcast, chilling with the bros. Cause the ribbon never misses at a show. So if you coming, then you better up the pole. Rambling, these boys they always rambling, they always here hammering. Cameraman, cop the lens, dinner served up by the chef. We on the net to represent, Raiders here for Texas Tech. We the Rambling Raiders, get your money up, then talk to me later. We living life.
Chef in the lab.
Yeah, I'm just in
cooking
here
up some locks.
Hey, I went 4-0 last week. I'm cooking up some more locks, so y'all better ride and you better be ready. Yes, chef.
Enjoy it. And most shows be fake, but we McCoy.
Vegas slipping with my max play. SMU +1. Take the points against U of H. Easy hitter.
Jeff, Joe, and Lane, about to run it so you know ya. Run it. About to run it so you know ya. Jeff, Lane, Joe. Yeah, this the Raiders.
I love dubstep. Find out everything runs you.
Oh my god, he on X Games mode.
Yo, what is up, everybody? I hope the audio is quality and the stream is good right now. Thank you for joining the RIP. It's been a while since we've done a RIP episode, but we're really excited for today's NCAA breakdown. This is a show that we do. It's powered by and brought to you by the Ramblin' Raiders Entertainment Group, and we're very happy to have one of our own today. She's a campus ambassador and content creator. Not Big Pick Joe. I did not have time to change the bottom disclaimer and decal there in time for this episode. But we have Tricia Wurmstein, Tricia Wurmstein with us, as she pointed out to me earlier, like Albert Einstein, Texas Tech alum and graduate. Tricia, what's up?
What's up? Just kind of chilling today, ready for March Madness to start. I'm so excited for this. I can talk basketball all day, so I'm pumped.
Yeah, you've been killing it for the Ramblin' Raider TikTok content, doing kind of mini breakdowns, really, having those stat sheets, right? The Excel sheets with all of the kind of insights for these teams getting ready for March Madness. So I would say you're not playing around. Definitely a hardcore connoisseur of, and fan of March Madness.
Absolutely.
So before we get started here, guys, again, the RIP, we're a part of Ramblin' Raiders Entertainment. You can find us on Twitter at Ramblin' Raiders. We're also on Instagram at Ramblin' Raiders. Our TikTok that Tricia is an instrumental part of operating for us is at Ramblin' Raiders is the handle that we have there. And then our Facebook page for any of our older, viewers and listeners that we have typically in today's, social media scene. That's going to be the Ramblin' Raiders podcast Facebook page. So check us out there. Make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel, which you're seeing this on right now. Really happy to see our numbers go up there. So please continue to subscribe and follow us on YouTube. Hit us with the thumbs up if you enjoy the content for this episode. And last but not least, I'm putting these episodes back onto Apple Pod and Spotify. So make sure you're subscribed there and following us on all of the platforms where you get your Texas Tech content. So today, it's bittersweet because we love March Madness, but it's the first time in a long time that Texas Tech hasn't been a part of the conversation, a part of the discussion. So we typically try to keep this, kind of proclaim ourselves to be, premium Texas Tech content. Today is just all about college basketball, not really as much about Texas Tech. Either way, it's still exciting, but kind of sad, Tricia, to have missed the mark for the first time in a while.
Yeah, definitely. I literally can't even remember the last time we weren't in the tournament because I've pretty much blacked out everything from before the Final Four years. So 2018 and before that, I have no idea what happened. But yeah, no, it's every year that I've been at Tech, we've been in the tournament, and not just in the tournament, we've been a high seed in the tournament, projected to win multiple games. So it's definitely been tough, something that I've had to adjust to when I'm filling out my bracket. Like, the first thing I couldn't do this time was put Texas Tech all the way to the Natty. So
Yeah. No, as a lifelong Red Raider fan and a fan pre-Final Four 2019, yeah, just know it was there were some downtime, some dark times where making the tournament was a far cry long shot. And so, it's been such a great run for Texas Tech these past, 5 or 6 years of making the tournament every single year. Like you said, usually in that 3 seed, 6 seed, higher seeded role. So tough, but we're not going to, dwell on it today. We're going to discuss really this tournament that, first glance to me, is not an easy one to pick. I kind of pride myself as a guy who can go through and usually puts together pretty good brackets over the course of the last couple years, finishing pretty high in a lot of these groups. This year's tournament, there's a lot of parity. It's pretty open. A lot of different teams could make a run, could get upset early. So let's go ahead and start with the South region. And I want to get your take, Tricia, just the overall outlook for you. I mean, kind of, what are some of or I guess first off, let's just start with the basics. How do you feel about the South region comparatively to the rest of the field?
well, obviously with the South region, you have the number 1 overall seed in Alabama. So naturally, you're going to have a little bit more of a polarization and talent. You're going to have it really top heavy in that league or in that region. But I definitely think there's a lot of talent throughout this region. You have Arizona in that region. You have Creighton in that region. Charleston, San Diego State, Furman, Virginia. These are all teams that have the capability and the tools to make a run in March. And it's kind of crazy. Like you said, there's just so much I feel like this entire regular season has just been so insane, and the fact that anybody can beat anybody.
Yeah.
So I think regardless of, the region, regardless of the team, I think this tournament's going to be crazy for sure.
Yeah, so let's go ahead and get into, as I pull up the chat here, let's go ahead and get into kind of the, nitty-gritty of these matchups, right? Like our favorite matchups, potential matchups down the road, Sweet 16, Elite 8, and then upset alerts. This region to me, the South region, is really, more bottom heavy. I think Arizona and Baylor are 2 teams that are very capable and are pretty solid overall. It's kind of, I guess it should be that way with Alabama being the number 1 overall seed. Some of these early games, there could be a lot of upsets here, but I'll be honest, as far as the 1 seeds are concerned, I'm not that high on Bama. They've had some pretty what I would consider, suspect losses this year. And early on, I almost was crazy enough to go West Virginia over Bama in the round of 32. I kind of talked myself out of it a little bit later on. And so, but spoiler alert, I'm going to have them probably as my first 1 seed to exit the tournament. The thing that scares me, though, is that typically when you do that, you want to have a really strong, 4 or 5, right? That is very capable of going deep. And when you look at the lines on Furman and Virginia and then San Diego State and Charleston, both those teams could lose in the first round. I think they're both at -5, -5.5, something like that, as favorites over their, respective opponents. So not a lot of, confidence in Virginia. That top part is just I don't really know what to make of it. It's kind of tough. And then as you go down to the bottom, Arizona and Baylor, that, I'm putting both those teams in my Sweet 16. I think that matchup has a lot of implications for the later rounds in this tournament. Whoever can pull that off, and I'm pretty bullish on the fact that I think Arizona gets by Princeton, and then a Utah State team that is capable of an upset. I have them beating Missouri, but I think Arizona handles either one of them. Baylor with Creighton in the second round is not going to be an easy matchup. They're definitely going to have to play one of their better games. I think they can get it done, though. Arizona, Baylor. Tricia, how do you feel about that potential Sweet 16 matchup?
So I personally don't have Baylor in the Sweet 16. I have Creighton beating Baylor.
I like your style.
With Kalkbrenner, Shireman, they have Nemhard, and what's that 4th guy's name? Kaluma, I think. Those 4 guys, I think Baylor's entire offense relies on their backcourt, which, don't get me wrong, they have one of the best backcourts in the entire country. but I think that defensively also they completely out of the picture. I don't think Baylor has anywhere near the defense that they need to make a run in this tournament. I think Creighton does, but I think Creighton has the ability to spread the ball a little bit better on the floor, not relying so heavily on 1 to 2 guys to make shots. So I personally don't have Baylor in the Sweet 16, but a potential Baylor-Arizona matchup, I think very high-scoring game for sure, probably. Both of those teams are really high-power offenses. That would definitely be an interesting matchup. I think Arizona would probably pull it out just because they have a little bit more balanced game with defense, but that would definitely be an interesting one for sure.
Yeah, and honestly, even Creighton, because I agree. I mean, Creighton's starting 5, I think it can go toe-to-toe with anybody in the country. Texas Tech, unfortunately, found that out early on in the season in the Maui Invitational. The one area that concerns me with Creighton is their lack of depth, right? But at the same time, I mean, hey, all you need is 5 guys that can, that are used to playing a high, quantity of minutes, right, as this starting 5 is. And no, you're absolutely right. They're very capable. They're dangerous. They have shooters. They can rebound. They have size. They have their guard. I forgot his name, but that point guard is an absolute stud. And so, yeah, no, they're capable. And even a Creighton Arizona matchup, to me, whoever, and I guess that's what I'll kind of leave it on, is whoever gets out of that Sweet 16 to me is going to end up in the Final Four ultimately, because I'm just not high on Bama. I don't even know if Bama's going to ultimately make it to the Sweet 16 or Elite 8. I know that they're, just coming off of an SEC tournament win. SEC, not, a superior conference. This year, I know they've been better in the past, but I'm not very high on the SEC in the tournament this year. So could be a lot of fun. Kind of of all the other regions, I would say this region is one of the more unpredictable ones for sure. But yeah, so who do you like making a run out of this region to the Final Four?
So this region, I do have Bama just because I think they've overcome a lot of adversity.
That's true.
They've found out a lot about themselves over the past couple weeks in the SEC tournament and their last couple regular season games. I mean, they almost got beat by Auburn in Tuscaloosa, and then they lost to A&M. And so I think they found out a lot about themselves and how they need to play to get the job done. And that's one of my biggest deciding factors when I'm really stuck on 2 teams is who's gone through the hardships throughout the season. If you haven't had very many roadblocks, I have trouble thinking that you're going to be able to make a deep run in the tournament, because that's all it is in the tournament is roadblocks. So I do understand not being high on Bama. They do definitely have some suspect losses, but ultimately I think that they're my pick to make it out of this region.
Well, in the tournament, I mean, it's almost somewhat of a mental challenge, right? You have those mental roadblocks as much as you do actually playing the game and the physicality of it, because of being in it's March Madness for those seniors, right? It could be it could be your last game every time you step on the floor. So I think it's a good point about that mental toughness, though, that Bama has already had to go through with a lot of the controversies surrounding their team this year. And certainly gives them kind of that one of the edges that you need to make a deep run. I noticed you pause. I will apologize. It can be a little daunting when you see the water container that I drink out of, just because I'm all about staying hydrated here with these gallons. So I forget sometimes that when you pull one of those out during a live stream, it can be a little bit strange to see. So. Yeah. So hey, the older you get, I'm just telling you, hydration is definitely key. So yeah, Bama. I mean, it's going to be interesting to see kind of what they do and how they handle that pressure. And I do like the commentary on that. This is great. I mean, you and I are going to have a lot of kind of teams that we're going to be cheering for on the opposite side of a lot of these games. So that'll make it more interesting in the Ramblin' Raiders group chat for sure. Okay, let's go down east, or I say let's go over east to, this is Purdue's region, right? They're the number 1 seed. You kind of look down at number 2 Marquette, who's on a serious tear right now with Shaka Smart. You have Kansas State, which is a lot of people are picking Kansas State to make a deep run. just your first kind of reaction to seeing when the dominoes fell, Tricia, on this East region. How do you feel about it? I mean, who do you like in it, and sort of what's your overall opinion on the sort of the validity behind the East region?
Yeah, well, my immediate reaction to this East region was I was pissed that Oral Roberts got stuck playing Duke in the first round because Oral Roberts has such potential to literally you put them against any other 5 seed in any other region. I think they make it to the Sweet 16, and I don't really think there's a question about that. But Duke is literally the hottest team in college basketball right now, so the fact that they got stuck playing Duke is so frustrating to me. I think Duke got underseeded. I think they should have been a higher seed, and I think Oral Roberts also got underseeded. They could have been a higher seed as well. So I think Oral Roberts kind of got screwed in that scenario. And I do like the Tennessee-Louisiana matchup. I think that one's going to be really fun. That's definitely a potential upset watch. So yeah, with those two, those are my two biggest immediate eye-catching things. So.
Yeah, so real quick, I want to take a pause. Shout out to Patrick, to our our Ramblin' Raiders team. Really, past and present, we have Nick Thompson with joining us. What's up, Nick? Everyone who's followed Ramblin' Raiders for a long time definitely knows the name Nick Thompson. Hope you're doing well, brother. We also have our other content creators and campus ambassadors, Davion and Carlson. Hope you guys are enjoying your spring break. I can't, for some reason, it's cut off over here, so let me come read. Let's see. Davion likes Arizona. I tend to agree. I actually have them going to my Final Four. Davion, and then Carlson says, nah, everybody knows College of Charleston is going to the Natty. And then we hire their coach. Hey, you know what? If he goes on that deep of a run, I will change my tune about potentially hiring him. So thank you for everyone who's watching right now and joining us in the chat. Please throw any questions or comments that you might have in there. But yeah, I think this is an interesting region. Honestly, out of all the other teams that are seated in the Midwest, South, and West, this is the region for me that I'm not as familiar with a lot of these teams. Besides Kansas State, I didn't watch Kentucky a lot this year, or I watched Tennessee a little bit when they played UT. I watched some of their games earlier on in the season, but I don't know much about Memphis. Honestly, I have not watched basically any ACC basketball this year. So Duke, I mean, this is news to me. Oral Roberts has been one of those teams that's, as far as an underdog is concerned, it's kind of been on everybody's radar. Again, spoiler alert, I do have them upsetting Duke. I think that they're kind of one of those teams of destiny in the 12 seed, as far as in the 12 seed category. But again, that's an electric first round matchup. I agree with you. Those are two teams, and a Duke team that's playing hot, to Tricia's point. And then I actually did get to see Oral Roberts play against U of H this year. It was probably one of their worst games of the season, but they had a couple intangibles that I like. One, they have a foreign footer on their team. I think he's like 7'2", 7'3", big presence, moves well, rebounds well, really good player. And then the confidence they had in shooting the 3-point ball against U of H, they weren't making a lot against U of H, but that tells me if they even get semi-hot, we're talking 32 to 35% from 3-point land, the way they were pulling with the confidence that their shooters had. This is a team that, like you said, could go on a Sweet 16 run. They could get hot at the right time and beat anybody. Unfortunately for them, Duke and I think Tennessee is a pretty tough potential second round matchup, but they could get hot. So I don't know. Let's kind of break it down here. Purdue is, and this is one of those kind of rare instances where I'm putting some faith in a Big Ten team. I think of all the 1 seeds, I have Purdue kind of making a sneaky run after I went back and looked at their schedule. I will say the one time I bet on them this year, they lost on the road to Indiana. So that's still, some salt in the wound, and I have some reservations about that. But who do you like making a deep run in this region, Tricia?
I like Duke. I think Duke is playing some of their best basketball of the season right now. Like I said, it really sucks for Oral Roberts that they had to get matched up with Duke. But I think they're literally playing some of their best basketball of the entire season right now. I think they're on a 9-game win streak overall. Oral Roberts is on a 17-game win streak. I think it's one of the longest, if not the longest, in college basketball. So we have two really hot teams. I do have Duke making it out of this region, but I think my biggest thing about this region was inconsistency with so many of these teams. Purdue, I think, is really inconsistent. I think Tennessee is very inconsistent. Kentucky's inconsistent. Who else?
Yeah, I mean, again, I'm not as familiar with like Michigan State, Marquette. I mean, Kansas State is another one that's had some inconsistencies and some kind of blunders late in the season, right? They haven't been playing their best basketball down the road necessarily. And that was actually a point I was going to bring up for Baylor as well, kind of to your point in that Creighton game. That's a team that's been a little inconsistent and had some tough finishes. So as much as we tout the Big 12, right, like being the best, and it is the best conference in college basketball, it's going to be interesting to see how some of these teams fare early on.
Yeah, definitely. I have Kansas State, I think. Yeah, I have them making it to the Elite Eight, losing to Duke in the Elite Eight. But I think other than really Duke, I don't think they're. Oh, and Memphis and Duke. If Memphis had the opportunity to upset Purdue, which I think they definitely could, because we all know how much guard play matters in March, and Purdue does not have very good guard play, and Memphis has extremely good guard play in Kendrick Davis. I mean, yes, they're relying really on one guy from the perimeter, but like Kendrick Davis is insane. He's like one of the top guards in the country. So I think Memphis definitely has a shot at upsetting Purdue, but I think if we get a Memphis-Duke matchup in the Sweet 16, I think that would be an insane one to watch.
Yeah, no, I will say Memphis is one of the more dangerous 8-9 seeds that I see in this tournament. A lot of these 8-9 matchups are kind of a coin flip, but when it comes to Memphis, I could really see them doing some damage. So great points. We both already so I haven't filled out this region all the way. I was thinking about taking Purdue to the Final Four, but I might have to reconsider in light of this knowledge that Tricia has blessed me with and has laid on me. Who you said, so you have Duke making it out of this region?
Yeah, I do.
I like it. And I'll tell you this, as a 5 seed, if that does play out the way that you have it, I know in as far as the brackets are concerned, you're going to be picking up a lot of points, I bet, that people won't have down the line. So, it's going to be an interesting region as well. Let's go ahead and move over to the Midwest, and then we'll wrap it up with the West here. The Midwest region, to me, is again, you have a lot of kind of interesting matchups early on. I think Drake is a team in that 5 seed that could, I don't know their chances. I mean, or I'll say it this way. They could definitely get by Miami, in my opinion. And then Indiana's a tough out, but so is Kent State. Really, that 5-12, 4-13 region right there is murderer's row to me. I think it's really hard to kind of make a call on who could get out of there. U of H is a team that coming off the news of the big injury with Sasser being out for the rest of the tournament. Really feel for him, a guy that's battled injuries throughout his career at U of H and in collegiate basketball. I think that's going to dampen the spirits of a lot of U of H fans, but they're still a very capable team, a team I've watched in person this year. And then every time I look at it, it makes me want to throw up. But as much as I hate it, UT to me got a pretty good draw as far as making it to the Sweet 16. A&M and Penn State are just I think Penn State's playing pretty well right now. They're kind of heating up at the right time. A&M also is a team that's finished well down the stretch, but I don't think either one of them is capable of keeping up with UT's guard play and their veteran presence that they have. Really interesting to me is a potential matchup for Xavier UT in the Sweet 16. That's one that I really like. I think Xavier is lights out. I love their coach, Sean Miller. I hope after the season that Kirby is willing to reach out and give him a call. If our head coaching search has not been completed by then, I've been very adamant and vocal about that on previous podcasts. This is a tough one. How do you feel about it overall? Just sort of the strength of this region and then kind of some early matchups.
Yeah, I definitely think there's a lot of strength in this region, pretty much throughout. Like you said, that 12-5, I do have Drake upsetting Miami in the first round, so that'll be interesting. They're both really high-power offenses, so we'll see how that one goes. I also, you mentioned like Indiana and Kent State.
Mm-hmm.
I think I did kind of like go back and forth on that one also. The only reason I think I took Indiana, and I think I have them Let me see. I have them going to the Sweet 16, losing to Houston. But I think with Trace Jackson-Davis and Jalen Hood-Schifino, I think that's like NBA caliber talent that you have on your roster, and I think that's like a really big component to have in March. So although I think Kent State might give them a run for their money, I definitely would take Indiana there. I think something that's interesting is that Auburn and Iowa will be playing in Birmingham, Alabama. So that's going to be a little bit like a home game for Auburn. So I do have them making it out of that game. And then Pitt and Iowa State, that game is going to be insane. I'm so excited for that game. I think Iowa State without Caleb Grill and that capability of shooting from beyond the arc in the tournament they're going to struggle with that. And I honestly think Pitt has the potential to take them out. And then, like you said, A&M and Penn State, those are two teams that are both really, really talented teams. They've had some, low spots, but they've had some really high spots as well. I literally, that was the one game in this entire bracket that I could not decide on. I was literally going back and forth. I think ultimately I would probably take A&M purely for the fact that I want to see A&M and Texas play in the round of 32. But I think either of them could come out on top. So
yeah.
And with the Sasser thing that you mentioned, did they say that he's out for the tournament? Because the last thing I saw, he was like a game time decision.
Okay. So I didn't realize that. I was getting some texts. I have a little bit of an inside source on that, some inside baseball. And according to, this is a U of H fan that I trust. He's very knowledgeable and tuned into the program. He told me, and I don't know, maybe they're doing this to kind of throw some people off, but he told me that Sasser was more than likely going to be out for a little while.
That would really throw a wrench into this entire region.
Yeah, so that was his. Again, I don't, that just take me for my word on that if you want to. I'm still going to have U of H go on a bit of a run. I mean, Sasser is such an instrumental part of that team, though, that if he is out, like you said, it's going to make a huge difference down the line. As far as the A&M Penn State game, I think for my marital status, I'm probably going to have to pick A&M in that first one, even though Penn State, both these teams made it to their conference championships, right? They're playing well at the right time, which can be such a critical component of March Madness. So that's interesting. UT, and this is a tough region overall. It's not as tough as the West, which we're about to talk about here in a second, which in my opinion is murderer's row. But Xavier, a potential Sweet 16 group with U of H, a healthy U of H, Xavier, and UT. I mean, that's pretty brutal. Those are teams. Xavier's capable of making, in my opinion, capable of making a Final Four. UT, again, every time I look at it, because I have it on my bracket right now, I want to throw up, but UT could make it to the Final Four, and then U of H, depending on that injury. It's going to be interesting. This is one, I do like the Drake pick. I'm on that one as well. I think Drake, and if you look at the line, I'm pretty sure it's like Drake +1 or +2. I mean, it's Vegas has it pegged as a close one. They also have the Indiana Kent State game pegged as a pretty close one. That's why I think that's a really intriguing kind of starting point, for those teams in that in the Albany group. So we'll see. It's gonna be interesting. Who do you have making it out of this region?
I guess depending on Marcus Sasser's injury, I have Houston, but
yeah.
I've kind of been back and forth with Houston and Texas this entire time I've been filling out my brackets. So I think it's a toss-up either way. I would lean towards Houston if Sasser plays, but if he doesn't, I would definitely lean Texas.
So I will say, Davion throws it in the chat, says Sasser expected to play tomorrow. Maybe he is good to go. I don't know. I'm just going off some information I was texted earlier about him possibly being out. Maybe it's just a psychological game. We'll see. But, I agree that's going to make a huge difference. It's going to make a huge difference in this. Let's see. Can we get a pick 3? Okay. Is this for my Final Four? So I don't know. This is one I'm going to, be sitting there debating all night. I usually like to really get in the lab the night before March Madness starts and kind of work through this. I've already gotten a pretty good amount of my bracket done. again, kind of like I said with the Arizona Baylor or Arizona Creighton, the implications from that Sweet 16 matchup, to me, Xavier UT. Those are the two teams I have make it to the Sweet 16. Whoever wins that game, in my opinion, is going to go to the Final Four. I think that's got major implications. It's a tough game to call. Again, I like Xavier a lot, but to me, UT is just coming off, winning the Big 12 tournament. They're playing really well. Rodney Terry, as great of a job as he's done this year, he was handed a monster roster, a monster team, and what he has right now. I'm going to go ahead and say it. I think I'm going to have UT in my Final Four out of this region, which is really unfortunate for Texas Tech fans. But I guess I'm kind of hedging it, right? If they end up losing, I'm not that mad about it, even though I have it in my bracket. So here we go. Last but not least, the West region, also, in my opinion, the without a doubt, strongest region in this tournament. I mean, when you look up and down the line at Kansas, very dangerous 1 seed. We've seen what they're capable of all year in the Big 12. Having won the Big 12, just the conference outright before the Big 12 tournament. You have a UConn team that is very capable of making a run to me, could absolutely upset Kansas in the Sweet 16 potentially. St. Mary's VCU is going to be an intriguing matchup. The most and let me go here and go through here and make sure I'm right on that. Besides maybe Creighton, I would say TCU fully healthy is the most dangerous 6th seed in the tournament, in my opinion. Gonzaga and UCLA, all these teams are capable of making a run. What do you think about the West, Tricia? Who do you like?
Yeah, like you said, the West is an absolute gauntlet, top to bottom. These are teams that, they could beat anybody, truly. I do have UConn making it out of this bracket or this region.
I love it. I love that pick. They're scary. They're scary good.
Yeah. No, they are actually and they started the season 14-0. If we see that UConn team, a team that just looks like they're absolutely unstoppable on both ends of the floor, I think it's lights out.
It's tough.
One matchup that I really, really want to see is Gonzaga UCLA. Kind of like a revenge tour from the 2021 Final Four game, where Jalen Suggs hit that overtime buzzer beater 3
That's wild.
to send Gonzaga to the national championship game. When UCLA was a Cinderella 11 seed that year, and you've got 5 guys on this roster this year that were also on that roster 2 years ago, and you got to think these guys, they're not forgetting about that anytime soon, and these are guys that are prominent UCLA players like Jaime Hawkins, Tiger Campbell, David Singleton, Jalen Clark, and Kenneth Nuba. All of these guys were on that team. They all felt what it felt like. So I think that's going to be a really interesting, really crazy game if Gonzaga can come out of the TCU game, which I feel like Gonzaga's been so not slept on. It's just they've been so quiet all year. It's we're not getting constantly pounded with Gonzaga in the media like we have been in previous years.
Mm-hmm.
So I wouldn't call them a sleeper because obviously they're still a 3 seed, but I definitely think that people are forgetting just how good that Gonzaga team still is.
No, you're absolutely right. And honestly, what makes this scarier to me, if you're having to face Gonzaga early on in this tournament, is that they're, like you said, they're not in the limelight, right? They're just, hey, nobody's talking about us, right? No one's paying us attention. We're just, little old Gonzaga here now. As I say that, like you said, they're still a 3 seed, but it's not what they've been, accustomed to over the last couple seasons. So to me, that's going to be weighing on their mind. I will say that the possibility of a Gonzaga TCU round of 32, toss it up. Both TCU to me, again, is just capable. They can beat anybody in the country on any given night when they're playing at their best. I think they have one of the best players in the country in Miles. And so I don't know. That's a, like I said, this bracket is a big middle finger to Kansas, honestly, because there are so many good teams in here. Initially, I had TCU upsetting Gonzaga. That's one of those ones I'm probably going to roll over and toy with for, a while tonight as I kind of think through my bracket. This is tough. And a lot of the times when I fill out my bracket, I try to look at the path of least resistance when it comes to teams making a deep run. Who's the team that statistically has the best chances of at least making the Sweet 16? Once you get to the Sweet 16, a lot of the times it can be kind of a toss-up. a team I like as far as, in regards to that mindset is UCLA. I think well, obviously as a 2 seed, you're hoping they can get by UNC Asheville. Northwestern and Boise State are 2 teams to me that are very beatable, very beatable. UCLA, an absolute lock to get to the Sweet 16, in my opinion. After that, they're going to have to come up against some pretty formidable, opponents potentially, but they've had a lot of really good games this season. They've kind of bullied the Pac-12 for a majority of the year, right? I know they lost that really close sort of heartbreaker to Arizona in the Pac-12 championship, but that can almost be a good thing, right? You lose that game and then turn around and end up making a run because you don't want to go out on that note. So I like UCLA. I really do. To get out, again, you get to the Sweet 16 and it really is a toss-up in this region, but that's my pick for team to make it out is UCLA.
Yeah, I have UCLA in my Elite Eight losing to UConn, so I can definitely see UCLA coming out of this.
I'll tell you what, if I was Kansas, I would be pretty upset right now because UConn is super dangerous. That's a Sweet 16 that, is going to be a tough matchup to predict and a tough one to call depending on which UConn team you get. So overall, okay, we'll end it on this note. I know we're approaching 40 minutes here. I want to thank everybody who's tuned in. Make sure that you're subscribed to the Ramblin' Raiders YouTube channel, Ramblin' Raiders Media. If you haven't already, we appreciate that. Like I said, with our promotion that we're running right now, we've gotten a lot of new subscribers on YouTube. So thank you for all of our new followers. Last question, Nat, your national champion. Who's raising the trophy and cutting down the nets in Houston on April 3rd when it's all said and done?
I have been going back and forth on this so much. I truly, I don't think I know yet. Right now, prematurely, I have Bama, but I don't know if they're, if they have what it takes to be consistently good, winning, what is that, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5 games in a row, 6 games in a row. I don't know if they have the capability to do that, so I'm going to have to do some thinking about that. I think Houston or Texas, as much as I hate to say it, if Texas gets hot, I don't know who's stopping them, so that's going to be tough too.
Tough pill to swallow, but yeah.
I'm going to have to do some more thinking about this because I really don't know right now.
So I'm with you. I haven't, as far as, the Tournament Challenge app, right, going in and doing those groups. By the way, send us a screenshot, DM it to us on social media, on any of the Ramblin' accounts if you haven't already, that you're subscribed to our YouTube channel, and we will send you the password and get you the link to join the best Tournament Challenge group as far as, Texas Tech groups out there are concerned. We've been doing, this is our 3rd annual, been doing it now for a little while, so make sure you join that group. Top 3 prizes, we're going to do a ticket giveaway, 2 tickets to a football game, Texas Tech football game next year. Or if you're a fan of Iowa State, Kansas State, TCU, whatever, we'll get 2 tickets to one of those games for you. A Texas Tech jersey or item of apparel is for the 2nd place finisher, and then 3rd place gets a $40 gift card. So keep your eye out for that. But I agree. I haven't filled it in yet in that app, but initially I wanted to say Arizona. I just, again, I kind of look at the path of least resistance and how to get there. Either it would be them or UCLA. I can't believe I'm going totally Pac-12 here, but those are kind of my 2 teams I like to potentially have a shot. And yeah, looking back at the chat, I see it popping up here. Davion says, tell them about Marg's 806. So I guess, hey, go find Davion and get you a Marg in the 806. Or Tricia, I don't know. Yeah.
We have our little Chimmy's group chat. We made a tournament challenge.
Oh, nice. Awesome. Yeah, well, make sure you join that one then. I was going to say, I like where your head's at, Davion, with just grabbing some Margs in the 806. If you're up to it right now, we're getting close to it's 5 o'clock, happy hour window. But we all know in Lubbock, happy hour is really at any time of the day when you have a good group of Red Raiders and Texas Tech fans around you. So with that, Tricia, I want to give you a chance to plug your Twitter, and let everyone know where they can find you at. If y'all haven't seen it already, Tricia puts out great TikTok content for us at Ramblin' Raiders. She does awesome write-ups for us and for Guns Up Nation. A lot of good write-ups for Guns Up Nation as well. Tricia, go ahead and plug. And everybody, make sure you vote for in the Texas Tech Twitter tournament and Davion in the group chat coming up starting tomorrow. Make sure you give them a vote. But yeah, plug away. Tricia.
Okay, wait, before I plug, I have these like random March stats that I wanted to like give everyone if they're
Yes.
having trouble like picking their national champion. Okay, so every national champion since 2002 went into the tournament being a top 57 offensive efficiency team and top 37 in defensive efficiency. So like they have to be in those two categories. 100% of the national champions since 2002 have fit those categories.
Wow.
95% of those teams were top 21 in adjusted offensive efficiency. This is all according to Ken Palm. And then 100% of national champs since 2002 were ranked top 40 in offense and top 22 in defense after the tournament. And then 100% of them were also ranked top 12 in the week 6 AP poll. So I'm going to give you all the teams that fit those metrics. So if you want to kind of pick your national champion based on this, you don't have to.
Everyone,
just some insight.
get your pens out right now because I'm going to be writing these down.
Okay, Houston, Alabama, UConn, Purdue, Texas, and then Tennessee fits the top 57 offense, but not the top 21. Kansas fits the top 57 offense, but not top 21. Arkansas, believe it or not, fits the top 57 offense, but not top 21. And Duke also fits the top 57, but not top 21. So those last four kind of have asterisks next to them, but like the primary ones would be Houston, Alabama, UConn, Purdue, and Texas.
I did not hear Arizona in there. Therefore, I will be going back and changing my national champion pick there.
Only because Arizona was not ranked in the top 12 in week 6 in the AP poll. But they fit the metrics regarding offensive and defensive efficiencies. So
okay, that makes me feel a little bit better. But anyways, guys, thank y'all for tuning in. Tricia, thank you for joining me. I know you are the basketball guru, and so we definitely, I definitely, and I know our followers will as well, appreciate your insights on the tournament. I know it's going to be a really fun, it's my favorite day in sports is that first Thursday and Friday of March Madness. It's just hard to beat. So everybody, make sure you find a good time to go, be in front of a TV. I feel like everyone likes to take those extended lunches, right? That everyone's going to go for that 3-hour lunch tomorrow, starting at like 1 o'clock from work. So y'all enjoy, have a good one. Our outro music, I'm going to have to get Sherman to make us an outro clip because last time Lane and I tried to do that, it did not come out very well on the audio, but yeah, man. Any final words here, Tricia, before we send them off?
I mean, wreck 'em as always. That's all I gotta say.
That's right. We're not in the tournament. Wreck 'em, guns up, and ramble on. We will see y'all next time.